Welcome to this episode on natural law and consciousness. We're going to look at methods of mind control, starting with obfuscation, the exploitation of primal fears, and divide and conquer. Now, mind control is the influence of another person's thoughts and emotions to produce an effect that the practitioner wants. So mind control benefits the practitioner of mind magic to the detriment of the victim. Mind control is mentally and emotionally manipulative. It hides the truth from people, the underlying effects or causal factors. People are deceived with a false notion of reality. Influencing others without their knowledge for personal gain is selfish and therefore is sorcery. Mind control can be soft or hard. Soft mind control is how the mass of humanity has been covertly influenced to produce changes in society. Hard mind control is directed specifically at an individual, usually through torture, to fracture their mind and to produce a slave who will follow orders unquestionably. Now, natural law should be common knowledge. However, it is for the most part occulted and hidden knowledge. Why? Because if humanity understood and woke up to their natural freedom rights, then they would break free of the yoke of the dark occult. The dark occultists controlling society behind the scenes are mastermind magicians. They have advanced knowledge of human psychology, and they leverage this knowledge against the common people for their personal gain. So, a way to escape the influence of this mind magic is to understand the tricks that have been played on humanity that drive the decision making down predetermined paths. These tricks are discussed here as the 14 methods of mind control. So this presentation is a summary. We'll go into them in more detail later on. And then, once you understand how these tricks are played, they will no longer work. These 14 methods of mind control are, firstly, obfuscation, secondly, world poisoning, exploitation of primal fears, divide and conquer, indoctrination, controlled opposition, the financial system, food and medicine, control of the mass media, the illusion of time, denial, hassle and ridicule, or the hassle of doing anything about the problems that are going on in society, religion, subversive symbolism, and the granddaddy of them all, chaos sorcery. Obfuscation is to render something obscure or unintelligible. This creates confusion. When the force of fear is present in us, we feel confused. Confusion can be created by dressing something up and making it look good, then putting that in the place of the real thing so people take it, because people will usually prefer the sugar-coated version of reality rather than the actual truth. Now, the first obfuscation technique is the replacement of simplicity with complexity. Complexity is wrapping someone's mind up in knots and leading them down labyrinths in their minds. So they will never know the truth. They could never understand, get to the bottom of the real nature of things. The fact is that truth is always simple. And people are intelligent. They have a way of knowing the truth. Confusing people is a nature of evil. It's to create artificially complex ideas, and it does this to hide or obfuscate the freedom that it destroys. However, removing the complexities and fears from your life will give you the plain and beautiful truth. Truth is the nature of your worth. There is a false belief in the New Age community, which is that you cannot truly know anything, that problems are too complex. They cannot be known, especially by uneducated people, whereas the understanding of these problems is from the experts. So the second obfuscation technique is to obfuscate self-control by creating fear, the fear of punishment. Now you are a powerful co-creator. You create your experience. You're creating inward harmony with emotions, with thoughts, and actions. Actions are the external manifestation of thoughts and emotions. It is possible to create reality when thoughts and emotions are brought together through love and expanded consciousness. The quality of dominion is the inward harmony of thoughts, emotions, and this is self-respect, self-love. That is unity consciousness. Freedom is created by dominion, internal dominion, and passing laws or dominating others by manipulating their minds to give their power away. That's external dominion. Unfortunately, the fear of punishment obfuscates a person's dominion, personal sovereignty, because people don't understand natural law principles and they confuse principles with man's law. Anything written as a law that gives individuals or groups of individuals power to do something is not given to them by the Creator. That's immoral. If laws don't exist in nature, then they are untrue. They should be rejected by anyone without justification, and they are irrelevant. An example of an immoral law that people follow because of fear of punishment is forced taxation. As an individual, you don't have the right to take money from another person with threat of violence. Governments only have this right if individuals give them this right. You can ask someone for tax, but you do not have the moral right to force them. Taxation is theft if it is taken with the threat of violence. So people are confused by so-called experts. These people who deliberately complicate things, they wrap up concepts and ideas in layers of complexity that most people can't unwrap. To most people, it would seem like common knowledge that experts know what they're talking about. Presently, people who are learned in the scientific tradition most often succumb to the ego trip propaganda of scientific expertise, whereas most of humanity's best rational minds believe that they know that they are not the sole purveyors of truth. All over the place, from the popular culture to the propaganda system, there is consistent pressure to make people feel that they are helpless, that the only role they have is to ratify decisions and to consume. Noam Chomsky. The second method of mind control is worldview poisoning. This is a technique of poisoning how a person sees the world, how they see themselves, and how they see others around them. And there are 4 ways of doing this. Now, first, convince people that they are inherently evil. Convincing a person that they are inherently evil creates a psychopathic mind state. And this conditioning is intergenerational, meaning that parents teach that to their children. The children growing up with that worldview will teach it to their children. A worldview poisoned child will hold that belief. And the neural pathways in the neocortex, as they get older, they become fixed and reinforced by this negative worldview. They'll see it in the world wherever they go. If a person is nurtured with love, however, and the belief that humans are inherently good, then that person will exhibit positive tendencies. However, a worldview poisoned person will exhibit psychotic tendencies. These tendencies are programmed into our psychological mind-body computer. These programs are not who we are, but they do play a role in expressing how we are. The third way of poisoning a person's worldview is to get them to think of themselves as a number. For example, how much money you make, what sort of car you drive. And these are all external metrics of value. This is poisoning a person's value, the idea that they have of themselves as an individual. However, a person's true value is infinite. It's in their spirit. Poisoning a person's value of themselves will make them immoral, and it will make it easier for the elite controllers to control them. The fourth way of manipulating people's worldview is to convince people that change is not possible. So this is a worldview that convinces people that change is impossible, that nothing can't be changed. It's really too complicated. However, change is possible. It may not be easy, but it must be willed into existence. Change is only possible when we take back our power, take back our minds. It's only when we give our power away we experience the adverse conditions. We create favourable conditions when we take back our creative power. We co-create this reality with natural law, God's law. And this is prudence. When we apply natural law principles properly for the right reasons, we have life, liberty, and happiness. But we will only have those things once we begin to regain our power and embody the principles of natural law. Being empowers us into doing, and this is power. We can do the work when we realize this and we take our power back and embody principles, meaning to be a certain way in the world. Creating a victim mentality. The manipulator's goal is to put a person into a victim mentality. The victim's worldview is that they are an eternal victim, that there are external victimizers, and it is not our collective doing or conditioning. The thinking is that the world has always been this way, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Our situation in life is fixed. This is victim mentality. You are under mind control, and you are wholly deceived. We must get back to the principles that put things first things first. When we do this by getting to know what is true under natural law, we must have the knowledge of what is right, what to do, and what we can't do under natural law. Now, the next technique used of poisoning one's worldview is poisoning a person's view of their value. It's a way to get people to think of themselves as a number. For example, how much money you make, what sort of car you drive. These are external metrics of value. It's poisoning a person's value, the idea of value of an individual. However, a person's real value is their spirit, and this has infinite value. Now, the third method of mind control is exploitation of primal fears. Primal fears are ancient psychological fears. They are rooted deep in the subconscious mind. There are four primal fears: the fear of darkness, the fear of predators, or predation, being preyed upon, the fear of abandonment by a father figure, and the fear of chaos resulting from darkness and predators and abandonment. These fears probably came from the last ice age, where humans lived in caves. Their lives were short. Predators were a constant threat, especially in the darkness of night. Primal fears are associated with survival. These deep fears in the human psyche, they keep people in a self-generated prison. The instinct to survive is the strongest instinct in a human. The sorcerer will establish sorcery upon that fact. The fact that you will trade anything for survival. A dark occult ideology is that the first and foremost responsibility is self-preservation. This way of thinking does not lead to higher wisdom, and it is the ideological concept embedded in the minds of the dark occultists. Survival is not the highest responsibility, and is therefore not a principle. This is a mind control technique. It exploits humanity's deepest, primal fears. Divide and conquer is another technique of mind control. This is when people are focused on the external, perceived differences. If they do this, then they are more easily ruled. Therefore, rulers must keep people thinking of themselves as distinct and different, never seeing the unity and the inherent non-duality or the collective shared situation. People who cannot see this situation will be more prone to act in ways that continue to divide and weaken them. For thousands of years, rulers have perfected the divide and conquer technique. For controlled opposition to work, there must be division. Exploiting perceived differences. Now, people perceive themselves as different from others, yet at a fundamental level, we are all the same. Distinctions such as race, colour, sex, religion, political preferences, now these have all been exaggerated. The primary way that people are divided is by exaggerated differences between the sexes. We say this played out in the male domination of society. There is an imbalance between male and female, and it's not on the part of true nature. It is unsuitable for our evolving development. Humanity needs to restore the balance between men and women. At a higher level, between males and females, they both oscillate the same energy. Males and females both carry energies. Everyone carries the male yang energy, which is expressed in action, and we also have the sacred feminine element of our emotions. Therefore, we need to harmonize these two, the masculine and the feminine, within ourselves. When the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine are balanced, there is unity. As we think, as we feel, so we act. Aligning thoughts and actions with feelings aligns the hemispheres of our brain in the neocortex. Our actions do not betray our feelings or consciousness. Our rulers, therefore, constantly need to reinforce this dichotomy between male and female and sexual stereotypes. We police ourselves with sexual stereotypes, and we must break free of this perpetual cycle. We need to see the dichotomy between male and female for what it is. It's utter nonsense. And this transgender ideology is also utter nonsense. Division into age groups. Stereotypes of age groups are exaggerated. Now, we all go through distinct phases in life. The idea of time is a very esoteric concept, and this is explained as an illusion. Division into class. People are divided into classes based on wealth, race, religion, etc. These divisions are imaginary and a lie, and most people have bought this lie. The belief in money is the number one religion on this planet. Money is not absolute, and it is only a belief. However, this belief heavily influences how people see themselves, and it separates people into class structures. Rich people look down upon the poor, and the poor hate the rich. This illusion is fake, yet people are killing each other over money. This concludes this episode on mind control techniques. We looked at a few techniques of mind control. We looked at obfuscation, confusing a person, poisoning their view of reality, creating the victim mentality, exploitation of primal fears, divide and conquer, exploiting perceived differences between male and female, between religions, etc., and creating divisions into class, age groups,